Hi everyone, it's Linda with stampwithlindawalsh.com. Today we're going to do a tag, and this is actually for my swap I'm doing in convention this year, 2013. I have to make 21 of these, so I figured why not do this for a color challenge too. Laurie, one of my online classroom, suggested, I'll show you the picture when I post it, but it was yellow, red, and green. Beautiful flowers that she gets a view of from her deck. So it was nice to have that input from Laurie. Thank you again, Laurie. So for this project, I decided that like I said, I'm going to use this for my convention swap. The convention swap doesn't really need to be current paper, so I did use the retired, but you can always, this is Daffodil Delight and Old Olive, and these were just the old patterns, but they have new patterns every year or so, so just switch it up. But what I did was I was running out of this bright yellow paper, which I actually really like this a lot, and I decided to use the paper from the pack, let's see, Floral District from last year. So it is retired too, this new paper design that I'm going to show you, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So let's start with our flag. I used the real red, and I cut it by 5.5 by 2. Alright? Alright, so to get this part right here, we're going to measure. I just took a ruler, and they, rulers are usually 1 inch width, so I just measured it from the bottom of the paper and I drew a line. Okay? Then to find the center, if it's 2 inches, then obviously it's going to be at 1 inch, right? So I'm just going to find the inch here and mark it. And then I'm just going to hold my pencil right, I found this the easiest. I hold my pencil there and then I line my ruler up. And I'm lining my ruler up at the center mark here, and I'm just going to draw a line down to the corner. Like this. And you're just going to go down. And then you're just going to do the same thing on this side. Put my pencil right at the center of my mark where I marked it earlier. Measure it up to my corner and draw a line. Okay? So then all you're going to do is just take your scissors and cut along these lines. Just the corner to the center. And vice versa. Okay. So there's that. You can erase these if you want. I'm not going to do that till the end. So then I took, this is the Floral District paper. So I took another piece, 2 by 5. And all I did was I matched up my corners here, and I'm just going to trace it. I found that if you try and do the same measurements here, if you cut it wrong, measure wrong, it's not going to come up as perfect as it is on this one. Hopefully they'll all come like that. But if you do have a little mistake and it looks a little crooked, this little doily that we're going to use will cover up and you won't even notice it. So just to let you know about that, just so you don't go crazy trying to get it perfect. So I'm just going to line these up. And you can use your repositionable tape if you'd like. And I just traced my opening for the flag. And I'm just going to cut this out again. Now, you're probably saying, well, gee, they're both pieces are 2 by 5.5. Yep, they are. I am going to cut this down. So see how that basically looks uniform? So what I'll do next is I'll go to my paper cutter and I'll cut off 1/8 of an inch on this side and 1/8 on this side. I just found that was the easiest. I mean, you could have cut this instead of 2 inches wide, 1 3/4. But I have to tell you, I tried that and I kept messing up. This was just the easiest way for me to do it. You might have a different way of doing it, and that's fine too. But there you go. There is that perfect opening. And then, like I said, cut off 1/8 and 1/8. So what I'm going to do is just go to my next one instead of doing that. And I'm going to glue this one down. See the other side of this paper? That's kind of cute, huh? Okay. So, like I said, this was the Floral District paper. And just try and line it up as best you can. Oops. I had one of my online members, Denise, who said, "Oh, I love it when you say oops." I guess I say that a lot. Now that she said that, I look And I notice I do say it a lot, but oh well. So just cut off the end of this. If you notice, I have my paper going up straight. So there's the two versions so far. Let's go through a couple of products that I've used. And to get the doily, I use the Sizzlitz Large Paper Doily. I also put a shim in there, which is basically just another piece of cardstock. So I used, let me show you the layering that I did. Alright, so I know sometimes people have questions. I know a lot of people are having trouble with this sticking, and you know, you will get this. This is what you're going to get, and you're going to have to poke out all these little holes. I found it easier to poke it out this way, and I'll show you. I kind of grab it from underneath and poke it with my thumb or finger and pull out the piece. So I'm grabbing them and pulling them from the bottom. Another way you could probably do it is on a mat or paper. You can just kind of do one of these and kind of poke it through like that. That's easy too. So just, yeah, it takes a little bit of work, you know, and I had to do 22 of these. One for my sample and then 21 for my swap, so I poked out a whole bunch of those. But let's go through the process of how I layered. So I just did tab 1. Alright, this is what a shim is. It's just a piece of cardstock. This was like the old bright color. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. And I just keep it with my layering. So that's what they call a shim if you hear that word. And then, so that was tab 1 I have down there. Then my shim, then the plate. Put your paper on top and then put this. As you can see, my pads get gross pretty quickly. I go through them quite a bit. So that's how I layered that. And it worked out fine. I didn't have it sticking, except for, like I said, you're just going to have to work at this because that is just the way it goes. Let's go ahead and put on our doily. Now, if you're in my club, you're going to get this as your club project. I didn't punch out the center. We don't need to because our flower is there. And I just noticed I didn't punch out this little guy right there. So all I'm going to do is line this up here, and it's just going to go a little bit lower than the edge where the flag is. And that's just, you know what, hey, it's great. It covers up your little mistakes if you had any in your cutting. Okay. I'm not going to do the outer edge because I don't want it to stick to my paper, right? So basically, I'm just lining that up like this. If you want, you could add a little bit on this edge. I just didn't want to have this edge and then down here sticking. So let's just add a little bit like this. You can also do a glue dot. Okay, that should hold it. All right. So that part is done. Now we're going to go on to our leaves. And the leaves are just going to, beware. I'll have you know, this sticks out a lot. I'm not going to put it out because it bends. See how it does that? So don't do that. Try and make sure your leaves are more stuck on to the actual flag part of your tag. And basically, I'm not going to do the top leaf. I'm just going to get some glue on all my other leaves. Something like this. Just in case, I want it to hang over a little bit. I like that effect. I just don't want it too much because then it will bend it on you. And I'm not putting it up high because we want to make sure we have room for our ribbon. Okay. And then I use the stamp sets. Okay, I forgot to tell you all this. I use the framelits. I have a video on this. I just posted on how I store this. So I just cut out of the designer paper the leaves. Then for the flowers, I use this Secret Garden, and I use this flower. I actually used it twice. So stamp it in black on your red DSP, and then stamp it in black on your yellow designer paper. That's all I did. And then I cut it out. So what you're going to have is this. You're going to have to cut this out by hand. And then if you have the framelits to go with it, which I do, then that will cut out your flower. So this is the only thing you have to cut by hand. And all I put that on with was my dimensionals. And I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals on this big flower. Ooh, okay. And I just put that right in the center. Something like that. For this, I just used a half a dimensional. That's all you need. You know, I hate to see my dimensionals showing, so I just use a half when I need to. And I'm just going to line it up. I mean, really, you cut it usually bigger than, let's see here. Just when I cut, I leave a little bit of a, what do you call it? Oh gosh, a border. That's what I want to call it. Alright, so for you, I use the itty bitty banners. And you know what's another good idea? You know, this is kind of, if you want to keep your stuff together, you could do your itty bitty banners. If you notice, I do 2 sets in mine. But you could take the itty bitty banner framelits and put it with your stamp set. So then you'll know. So instead of having 2 cases, I would have put my framelits with this stamp set. Caution, I don't do that only because I keep all my framelits by my Big Shot in my little workstation over there, so that's why, and then I keep my stamps elsewhere. But if you like it, that kind of storage, that's perfect. So the For You I showed you, I cut it out of the itty bitty banners and I used the framelit for it. I'm just going to go and put a little bit of adhesive in the center. And we're just going to place that in the center. Make sure it's stuck good for you. This is going to be, I had to do 20 birthday tags, or 21 or whatever it was. So, actually I'm going to make sure the For You is straight with your tag too. So I was supposed to do birthday, but I figured For You could kind of use it for anything, birthday, whatever. Then for, I get my crocodile. I just went in and I punched, let me clear this out. You can use any hole punch you have, whatever works. I have it set at, I'm using the 8th hole, and I have it set at 1/2 inch. And I'm just going in that much. I'm not really measuring it, I'm just eyeballing it for myself. I'm not measuring down. Once you put the ribbon on too, if it's off a little bit, no one's going to notice, which mine is off a little bit. So, and then the ribbon I use is the Real Red, and this is that 1/4 inch stitch ribbon. And I have it cut, pointed at an end, and all I do is just feed it through again, and I'm just going to tie a little knot once it gets through. I leave my ribbon on my spool just because it saves me on ribbon if you cut too much. Like right now I have too much that I had left, but I didn't want to fuss with it on the camera. So there we go. And then we're going to just cut it. Cut it to your length that you... Oh my gosh, I need my better scissors. My kids get a hold of my scissors and then they just cut willy-nilly whatever they want. There we go. So there are our 2 versions. I like the brightness of the yellow, but I do like this too, so I think they're both a great little look. Thanks for joining me, and Laurie, thanks again for your color suggestion for our color challenge. It's going to be fun. This is for the month of July in 2013. Thanks again. Bye-bye.